It's easy to look at real estate right now and think that it's just easy. But there's a thing called 2008, and it was a disaster. Things like that, things that really shake you to your core, that make you wonder, how did this happen to me? Why did it happen to me? How could I have avoided it? Makes you start thinking a little bit more about your priorities. I mean, making money, yeah, that's fun. But what about the relationships we have, and the investors we have, and the employees that we have? All that became more real when it was almost all lost. I'm Chuck Weldon from Birmingham, Alabama. And my father, Charles Weldon, my uncle Edgar, and a gentleman named Pete Field started WeldenField back in 1977, mostly focused on real estate, the development, property management, and mortgage business. Over the years, we've done a ton of multifamily, hotel, single-family, active adult projects. But since the 2008 cycle, our team started asking, what's really important? We want our money back, but we also want to see it have a spiritual impact, a social impact. Many of us had been on mission trips as a group, different principals here, building a hospital or building a school, but I had to wonder sometimes on these mission trips about some of the collateral consequences to it. And so I started asking, what about people up on the hill looking down? I'm wondering, did I take their job today? I mean, really, did they not get paid today because I'm here volunteering? And so I started asking people, what could I do with the skill sets I have? I'm a lawyer, I'm a real estate developer. The skill sets I have, what can I use to advance the gospel? And so that's when we started getting serious about thinking through all the spheres of influence our business has with all the stakeholders, not just the shareholders, employees, customers, vendors, government officials, and how can our company be really use those spheres of influence to advance the gospel. And we realized we had to be serious about it. Because if somebody's not responsible for that spiritual impact, then it just will be one of those things that it's number 5 on the list. I get through the first 4 things, and then it starts off as number 5 the next day again.
Oh, I'm at the front in between Steel and the coffee shop.
And so we brought Randy Wilson, the Chief Spiritual Officer, along with Colin Crawley, who's helping on the spiritual architecture, and challenged them to help us come up with a plan at WeldenField to make money for our investors and have an impact.
Our experience is, if we're gonna hope for spiritual impact, you have to plan for it. You have to execute. My name's Randy Wilson, and I serve as the Chief Spiritual Officer. We're a double bottom line company or quadruple bottom line company, depending on what your definitions are. For us, it's the profit and the spiritual impact. So if we're profitable but we have no spiritual impact, we fail. If we have spiritual impact but no profit, we also fail.
Some people ask me, hey, you have all these different business lines. Why did you pick multifamily specifically? And we chose multifamily because of the number of people that live on site, our staff that's there, our vendors. So we created an investment fund, raised about $20 million, bought 5 properties, and we set out to try to bring people far from God into knowledge of Him.
Have we given everyone who lives at our apartments an opportunity to respond to the gospel? That's what we're trying to do.
Truthfully, in apartments, they say you only know 2 or 3 people on the whole property. And that's kind of lonely out there.
And so what we will do is we'll run events that just bless the community.
So if you're a new resident, you move in, and within the next week or 2, you would have somebody knock on your door, and they'd have a welcome basket, and they'd introduce themselves, and they say, hey, we're here with Resident Experience, and Resident Experience exists to care for the needs of the community. We'll be doing community events, we'll be out walking around. If you ever see us, we'd love to have a conversation with you. They're not trying to bash you over the head with a Bible. They're not trying to manipulate you. They're there to care for you.
I was approached about the opportunity to be a ministry coordinator at an apartment complex. And so I thought it was a really intriguing idea. I'm Justin Barnett. I'm a local pastor here in Huntsville, Alabama, and I'm part-time at my church. And then I'm also here, meeting residents, prayer walking, getting to know one another, and sharing about the love of Christ.
In Huntsville, we have Justin, who is our ministry coordinator. And then we have folks like Adam, who are disciple-making team members. Adam lives on site and has committed to being here.
Where you live has a lot to do with who you know and what you do and what you see and how you can communicate with people. So being in a location with a community is really helpful for seeing into someone's life. There is a community that I don't know that would have happened without WeldenField being here. I have some neighbors who are from particular countries, and they would say, this has never happened in my country. People from different cultures getting together and eating meals together.
I came from Nepal. I moved to Huntsville for my PhD. My specialty is in astrophysics. So I moved here with my wife, and now I have 2 children. We didn't know anything. We didn't know any location, any places, where to buy, where to go. So they helped me.
Sunil's a Nepalese believer who moved to Huntsville to do school, and he's joined our team and is a part of that journey now. He's helping coach our team on how to meet people from Nepal.
There are so many Nepalese living here. I cannot directly tell them about Christianity because they might be offended. So the resident team, we can help them to take them to the groceries, helping them in different ways. But I can also add this part, about the gospel, about Jesus Christ in their life.
It's important to know that it is all volunteer from the resident side. If someone knocks on your door and you don't want to be a part of resident experience, you don't have to.
These investors have agreed to 8 to 10 year investments. We'll refinance the property, give the investors, or in this case the fund, about half their equity back, and then they'll own the property for 8 to 10 years with the idea of selling it and making a 13 to 15% return. And that returns about 200 basis points, or 2%, less than our typical apartment deals. And the reason is we charge the property about 2% of the equity per year to help accomplish our resident life experience, to help pay for the overhead of Randy and Colin. And so these investors have said, hey, I'm glad to reduce my return 1 to 2% if I'm going to have the type of impact you're talking about. But one of the tensions that we live in is the idea that when we buy apartment communities, we'll go in and rehab or renovate the units. We sometimes will add a swimming pool, add a dog park. It could be putting in granite, replacing toilets, changing out flooring, repainting. Now, there is a negative to all this. When you renovate apartment communities and raise the rents so the investors can be happy and make money so we can spread all these great news about the gospel, some people can't afford the new rent. The rents are going to go up $200 to $400, maybe more in some cases, displacing people who have lived there and oftentimes don't know where to go next. That's a tension that we have to think through strategically how to minimize.
Rent is on the rise in cities across the country.
Studio apartment rents rose about 21% year over year.
People in at least 5 cities are paying $1,000 more in rent than they were a year ago.
You see this sort of clash of supply and demand driving a lot of this. And I think particularly so when it comes to low-income housing. There's a significant shortage in funding to help support the construction of those new homes.
And so as believers, one of the challenges we've taken on is we need to be part of the solution for the affordability issues. And so one of the things that we want to do is we talk to our investors is to see, instead of requiring this 15 to 18% return that we love to give in our regular value add and the 12 to 15% in the BAM real estate fund, who's willing to take 10 to 12% maybe? That may be what it takes. It may take 8 to 10% return to help be part of the solution of the affordability issue that our country's facing right now. And so that's one of our goals, is educate investors on these other needs, and hopefully some of them will migrate some of their capital into that space as well.
So as we live this out, we believe that it's the Lord who's going to be drawing people to him.
Ministry's messy, you know, there's bumps, there's stuff, but we've already seen some really amazing stuff happen, and that's exciting for us.
These are complex issues, and they're not simple answers. But we as Christians have the opportunity to be in that tension and be faithful. So that's my journey.